Hello everyone, I am Nidanoski, and this is my review of Z-Dawn from Golden God Games. Full disclosure, they did provide me a copy of the Steam key so that I could perform this review, but that's not going to affect my opinion of this game in any way. I am going to show you how it's played so that you have a full understanding of what to do when you get started on this. Then after I go over some gameplay mechanics, I'm going to come back and let you know exactly what I think of this game. So stick around until then to see whether or not I think this game might be right for you. First off, I want to talk about the setup. Now, this setup might be familiar if you've played similar games such as Thea series, where you're setting up a lone survivor group or town or encampment. You have quite a few options to choose from, quite a few character stats, character perks. Now, in this example, I'm not going to edit anything other than the difficulty, which we're going to set to normal. What I am going to do is make sure that we get going with the base set so that we can have the full experience. Here we go. Now, right away you see that the game graphics show something very similar to, I guess, the best game to compare it to is Hero Gen or Regen. This is a very board game-like, and I appreciate that. Here's the menu that we start with, and I do want to say there is an opening tutorial. It's very useful. If you get the game, then use that. But what I'm going to be doing right here is just showing you that we are going to need to start very first by equipping characters according to their stats. The two stats I'm focusing on right here are strength and focus. When you're working with strength, what you're doing is you're going to have a character who's good at melee. Focus is the same for range. Now, the characters do not start equipped, so you have to go through each one to determine who's going to benefit best from your 2 pistols, baseball bat, and 3 daggers or knives. The ammo doesn't have to be distributed, but this should be the first step you do every single game. From here, we're going to do a little bit of exploring. We're going to eventually want to set up a base camp. This camp is where we're going to do much of our in-game functions. Now, our vision is impeded by the trees around us, so we are going to want to do it on clearing or road. Road's going to be a little bit dangerous, but also beneficial because we're going to do some exploring as well. So let's see if we can't find that. Now, here we found a patch of road. This is really good for us, but I mentioned it was risky before, so we're going to get right into combat. Zombies like to hang around on the roads, they like to hang around near towns, and here you see that we are performing melee strikes. We get 2 actions per turn. So what we're doing is we were backing up, and we're going to do it again with this group, after each melee hit until I was certain that we would be okay. Now, we did take a hit there, and you'll see in the bottom left those green bars, that's our health, and that is our hunger, which we'll get into in just a little bit. Right here, though, we've discovered the reason that I'm excited for this, and that is a place that we can explore. Now, if you've played the board game Dead of Winter, and I've mentioned board games before, this really feels like that. We're going to go ahead and assign our people to these various slots, and you'll see those icons on each of those image cards. Those are the things that we're likely to find while we're here. Now, in order to get an exploration, we need to enter into this neighborhood, and we're going to assign our characters either by dragging them right onto these or right onto the images, or just by clicking on them after highlighting the images, just like I'm doing right here. Now, once we do this, what we'll need to do is we'll need to end our turn several times. Right here, I'm looking for food, and the reason for this is food is very difficult for me to come by in this game. For whatever reason, even when it's likely to be found, I'm more likely to find other things like gear. Now, with that, once we have enough supply for us to feel comfortable, we're going to make sure that we have our inventory checked out and then do some more equipping once we have those accessories. And you can see in the bottom right hand corner, as I'm ending each turn, I'm gaining accessories right there that we'll be able to open up our inventory. They'll increase our stats. I love this particular one, increases so many stats. And then just like before, we'll want to equip those. Now, I talked a little bit before about making sure that we build an encampment. We're going to do that right here. It's a little bit risky to do that on the road, but our vision is mostly unimpaired. We're going to be able to see a little bit further out, which is great because anyone we leave behind in our town, we're going to want to make sure they can alert us to the presence of any incoming zombies. If they were not able to see that either by the rocks or trees, then the zombies could sneak up and come kill us. Now, they are going to typically follow the road from what I've seen, and that may not always be the case, but we're going to be able to have clear vision of that, which is exactly why I picked this. Now, going into our encampment, you see there are buildings that we can build here. Now, we do have an option if we ever wanted to really pack up everything and just leave. Now, is that a viable option? Right now, it wouldn't hurt us too much, but we'd lose all of our resources. We'd lose so much, which is so thematic for this game. Do we stay? Do we go? Do we pack up and leave for areas that we haven't scavenged, that isn't as overrun before? So really, this is one of those things that is just done right and done as a great theme. Here's our storage. Now, you'll see those resources on the right, but the storage here is where we can keep items so our inventory doesn't become full. We do have limited carrying capacity, but these resources here are what we're going to need to build more advanced buildings. So let's go ahead and go back to the buildings. I'm going to show you the wall. This is what you want to build every time you build a new encampment. And the reason for this is it will provide a static health point pool that the zombies will need to get through in order to kill you. So no more of that moving around. You just use both of your actions to whack them, and then they'll break themselves against that wall. But the problem is we don't have nearly enough wood in order to build this. So we're going to have to go gather resources. We already talked about going into town. That's a great place to get resources. You'll go across so many unique locations, factories, research centers. For wood, though, which is a very commonly needed resource, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go harvest it from the nearby trees. So here we are gathering from the trees. Now, just like everything else, we want to interact with it while we have action points. Every turn we're getting wood, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, and you're going to be checking that for quite a bit. You'll check that for event resolutions. You'll check that for resources like this. And we're gaining wood. I have discovered, or at least I believe I've discovered, that the more characters you have, or the more stats you have, rather, on the harvest, the better. Now, this is a great example of spending a lot of time in a singular area. You've noticed it's gotten dark. Day-night cycle is something you can toggle on and off when you create the game, but I could no longer see my camp. So if zombies were headed over to the camp, I wouldn't know it. This isn't bad now because I didn't build the wall yet, but with that, had we built the wall, then they would have started to attack and tear down the wall, and I wouldn't even know it. Now that we have the wood, let's go ahead and start building. Now that we have the lumber we need, and it has been automatically moved into that resource pile, you're going to see that our storage is empty. We're going to start construction. Now, we assign them very much the same way as we assigned the events and the locations over in the neighborhood. The only issue is that if it gets interrupted, then they will not remember their place. So we'll have to reassign them each time. But that's okay, because when you build a wall, it builds until it's complete, and then you don't need to worry about it again until you either build a new facility or you upgrade it. So by adding more people, we are increasing, or rather decreasing, the amount of time that it takes to complete. And you can see the number of turns next to the wall is going up as we take characters away, and it goes down as we add them. I do believe there are some diminishing returns, but that's okay. Now that we have them queuing. We just needed to end our turn a few times, but it does look like we got interrupted here. Our zombie friends decided that they don't want to have us deal with the wall. They want to make sure that we run. So I'm going to demonstrate range combat. So long as you are able to see them, it appears you can shoot them if you have ranged weapons and ammo. You're going to see that because we went into the trees, we didn't have line of sight, and so we had to revert back to melee. Now, if we had the walls, like I had talked about, then we could just sit behind them, all nice and cozy, spending both of our actions per round on killing these zombies. Unfortunately, that's not the case here, so you watch me waste quite a bit of time just running away, ensuring that our health bars down there aren't decreasing much faster than they need to. So let's go ahead and finish these off. Now we can return. Now before, remember I said that our characters don't remember what task they were assigned to. It's just a small inconvenience. But again, reassign everyone if you've had to flee your encampment for any reason during a build process. See, we kept our progress. Now, we do want to go back and repeat this for the spikes. The spikes should be built before you split your group because they'll provide bonus attack against any zombies striking us. In addition to that, they'll further increase the defense, and all they take is wood, whereas most everything else takes specialty resource. So we're going to go ahead and build that in the exact same manner. Now that we have those first two constructions complete, we're going to head back to the neighborhood because we still want to gather items, particularly food, and that's why I've split our characters between these two areas. Now, as I said, this reminds me very much like a board game. The events particularly remind me of Dead of Winter, where you will go in and on a location you'll find certain items that are more likely or less likely to appear. We want the food here. It is very necessary to going on, even more so than most everything else. Now here's an example of an event, just small things that'll happen. Stats may be required to be taken into consideration. In this case, it's quite a sad event, but we're going to see our conclusion in the upper left-hand corner, along with any other requirements. Now, once we've completed that, we can end our turns. But you can see here, out of all of our exploring, we've only found one additional piece of food. Now, those yellow bars in our lower left-hand corner below our characters are all hunger indicators. This is not good. You can see that we're going to go ahead and feed our characters. Oh, we don't want to unequip them. Let's get that baseball bat on. But we feed our characters, and you can see our hunger meter is really filled well. Our health meter hasn't gone up so much. But we're going to go through all of our food, having just spent all of our time constructing our base. This means that we desperately need to find additional food. Fortunately, we won't need to spend time harvesting lumber at this point, nor spend time building our construction. We can focus on filling our food. But that's just one of the more thematic events in this game. There's so much more to discover. There are additional events, there's advanced buildings that we could complete, there are level ups, there are perks that provide special bonuses for characters. There's just so much that I want to go into about this, but just for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and end it here with our final follow-up opinion. So, having played a little bit into this game and having really dug into the game mechanics and the theme, what do I think about this game? Well, I can tell you I like it. It is a good game. Now, there are several caveats. The first is, of course, the graphics. The graphics are very basic. They remind me very much of a board game, which is good for me, but it might not be for you. So if that's an issue, there are other types of games that play just as well that might have a better aesthetic or feeling, including fantasy games, modern world games, futuristic games. But going into that, there is this theme that is very much present in this game. This is a zombie survival game. Other games in the same genre are usually cleaning up after a post-apocalyptic event, and usually that event takes a back seat to what you're doing now. In this game, it feels like you are running from the zombies. It feels like the decisions on whether or not you gather resources, whether or not you go back and build your base, whether or not you split the group up in order to both defend the base and get the resources that you need to survive. Those feelings that matter are really at the heart of this game, and I feel that that's the heart of any good zombie survival game, because in effect, this isn't about recovering from a post-apocalyptic event. This is just about surviving from zombies, and they nailed that theme very well. Now, if you take the theme out of the game and you look at other games such as Thea, such as Regen, Heroes, then with this, then it becomes a little bit more basic. I think the theme is really what makes the game into a good game. Now, other games, if you like those, come and try this is what I would recommend, and see if you do enjoy playing through for the sake of a zombie theme, especially if you are a zombie fanatic, if you like these types of survival games, if you've played the board games that have come out from Dead of Winter, from the Walking Dead series, anything like that, then I think you'll find yourself enjoying that. That said, if you don't like zombies, if you think they're overdone, if you think that they aren't for you, then this game probably isn't for you. For me, though, I am going to say it is a good game, and I will probably keep playing it a little bit more before I move on to anything else. Now, if you have any questions, let me know down below. I'll be happy to respond and answer. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing so that you get more content here. Again, I am Nidanoski, and as always, have fun.